welcome to IISS America's office. Thanks for coming to join this event on part of our Shangri-La Dialogue Retrospective series. This event is on nuclear developments in North Korea. We thought it would be a useful idea to take some of the discussion that we had in Singapore at the Shangri-La Dialogue in early June and follow up on some of those discussions here in Washington. I think you all know that the IISS Shangri-La Dialogue is an Asia-Pacific Security and Defense Forum held annually in Singapore. It was initiated in 2002 in light of the clear need for a forum where the Asia-Pacific defense ministers could engage in dialogue to build confidence and foster practical security cooperation. This year marked the 15th anniversary of the dialogue. It was attended by over 25 ministers and deputy ministers, 600 delegates, and 2,800 participants from over 50 countries. So joining us today to talk about North Korean nuclear developments is Dr. Sok-Soo Lee and Dr. Katie Oh, who will provide personal perspectives on North Korea's nuclear developments. They're both good friends. Sok-Soo Lee has been Director General since 2012 of the Korea Research Institute for National Security Affairs at the Korea National Defense University in Seoul, where he's been a professor since 1997. He has served as policy advisor to various national organizations, including the National Unification Advisory Council. Actually, these bios are on the piece of paper that was on your chairs, but I have to add one point to the bio about Sok-Soo Lee, and that he was a major contributor to the dossier we put out in 2011 on North Korean security challenges. And also he attended the Shangri-La Dialogue this year and can speak directly about some of the discussion there. Katie Oh is a Senior Asia Specialist at the Institute for Defense Analysis. She was formerly a non-resident Senior Fellow at the Brookings Institution and a member of the Political Science Department at the RAND Corporation. She has taught at the University of California, San Diego, among other universities. She's written a great deal concerning North Korea and Northeast Asia in general. Her most recent book was The Hidden People of North Korea, Everyday Life in the Hermit Kingdom. Katie and I go back a ways, and I think that's why she agreed to join today. Because we've known each other for many years and we haven't seen during all the time that I was in London. So this event will run for an hour. Each of the speakers will speak for 10 to 15 minutes. We'll have some discussion. It all will be broadcast live. And we've suggested if anybody out there who's not present personally here would like to join the discussion, you can do so via Twitter by sending questions to either our IISS.org or directly to me in my Twitter handle. So let's get started. Sok-Soo, the floor is yours.
Mark, thank you very much for your kind introduction and invitation. This is important and sensitive topic. I have my presentation title like this: Nuclear Development in North Korea, Evolving Domestic Conditions, Capabilities, Strategies and Military Threats, and Policy Options. Those are, subtopics which I will deal with in my talk from now on. I put a lot of time in preparing for analysis of domestic conditions, but it's not focus of today's discussion, so I'll make it shorter as much as I could. And first of all, I will touch upon North Korean political conditions. As you all are very interested in political development in North Korea, last May, North Korea convened 7th Party Congress in 36 years. And then what did they do in 7th Congress? First of all, the purpose of the Congress is believed to build Kim Jong-un's own brand unitary leadership in North Korea by rearranging institutional settings and some changes in governing. So, as you see, when we try to understand North Korea, first of all, we have to think about unitary political system in North Korea. It was built by Kim Jong-un in 7th Congress based on accumulated efforts for 4 years since he officially took leadership position in 2012. That's summary of political development, essential political development of North Korea, recent development of North Korea. And then I would like to move on to economic conditions. Our interest is focused on whether UN sanction has impact on North Korean economic conditions. Contending assessments are existing on that question, but through my examination, I found that it's too early to assess the impact of economic sanctions on North Korea because, the early March, UN concluded the resolution, and then China announced 25 items, which is not permitted to have a trade with North Korea. So March, April, this is June, so it's too early, but according to economic statistics on North Korea-China trade during April, that statistics show that North Korea and China trade declined. Let me have numbers on that. The exports of North Korea to China decreased by 22.35%, and the total trade dropped by 10.54%. So the numbers show us that the trade between North and China is on the decline because of sanctions imposed by United Nations Security Council. As you see, the key of the destiny of North Korean economy is a relationship between planned economy and market activities. So, as you see, Kim Jong-un tried to mobilize people in economic sector. For instance, 70-day speed battle before the 7th Congress. Then after 7th Congress, he also adopted 200-day battle. That's kind of a labor campaign, mobilization campaign, regardless of people's willingness. State mobilize people for economic development. That's a characteristics of economic management by Kim Jong-un. And also in societal sectors, we can see some kind of indications which reveal emerging division in society of North Korea, like introduction of smartphone. Over 3 million people use smartphone in North Korea. It is known that. And then also last May, Kim Jong-un permitted a certain rank of officials to have access to internet. last May. He took that measure. All right, and then lastly, I will talk about military conditions. This is important. These conditions are background of Kim Jong-un's pursuit of nuclear development. So, military conditions in North Korea considerably have to do with nuclear development of North Korea. First, North Korea has suffered from limited military budget due to failing economy, even though it allocated budget to the military sector first. As a result, it began to lose edge of conventional weapons to South Korea. In other words, it is even difficult for North Korea to maintain conventional capabilities of the military. It is estimated that by U.S. intelligence agencies that North Korea had difficulties in military training and procurement of weapons due to lack of oil and constrained military budget. Secondly, Kim Jong-un has concentrated on advancing strategic capabilities, including nuclear weapons and delivery system, to get over disadvantages in conventional military power. Since he officially took over power in April 2012, he carried out nuclear tests twice in 2013 and 2016, and tested missiles many times. It is evaluated that he made a headway in improving nuclear capabilities. I would say that as a conclusion of outlining conditions, overall domestic conditions contributed to continuous efforts by Kim Jong-un to sophisticate nuclear capabilities. He seems to calculate that nuclear capabilities are most effective and cheap instrument for his political survival and North Korea's economic development. And I would like to move on to the second part of my presentation, nuclear capabilities. I'm not scientist, hard scientist, but a political scientist. I have, limited capabilities in assessing North Korean nuclear capabilities, but I will outline some progress made by North Korea under Kim Jong-un's leadership. Nuclear capabilities can be examined in terms of type of nuclear weapons, number of nuclear warhead, levels of miniaturization, and striking range of delivery system. So in this part, you can observe North Korea made a lot of progress and advancing nuclear technologies recently. According to current, Kim claimed that North Korea successfully in detonating a hydrogen bomb after the fourth test. But most of the experts assessed that the test involved a boosted fission weapon element. It's not a real hydrogen bomb. And also, in regard to the level of miniaturization, there is an agreement that North Korea developed a warhead small enough to put atop of short and middle-range missile, but has yet to advance technology of miniaturization for intermediate and long-range intercontinental ballistic missile. North Korea proved that it advanced missile capabilities. It tested the intermediate missile 6 times for 3 months from April to June this year. After 5 consecutive failures, it successfully launched the missile on June 22nd, which is called, as you know, Mustan missile. It is speculated that North Korea developed the sophisticated technology of re-entry to atmosphere of the Earth. Re-entry technology is considered as essential in completing long-range ballistic missile capabilities. Meanwhile, North Korea has pursued the sea-based missile system while carrying out SLBM tests several times, of which the most recent one took place in April. It also cited an assessment by the South Korean military. While the missile did come out of submarine, it failed at the early stage of its flight, exploding at an altitude of 10 kilometers, 6.2 miles, after flying only a few kilometers. According to the same source, it must fly at least 300 kilometers in order for SLBM test to be treated as a success. All in all, entering, as we see, entering Kim Jong-un's era, North Korea made a striking progress in improving overall nuclear capabilities. Kim, keep encouraging scientists hard to improve nuclear and missile technologies. Let me move on to the second part of nuclear strategy and the threat of North Korea. With regard to nuclear strategies, there are a couple of categories in examining North Korean nuclear strategies: political dimension and diplomatic dimension, and also military dimension. But I would like to add, economic dimension too. So, as you know, right now Kim Jong-un's national strategy is Byungjin line, Byungjin policy, which pursue economic improvement and nuclear development simultaneously. So, nuclear program is, based on Kim Jong-un's calculation, nuclear development is related to economic development. First stage of North Korean nuclear development, most of all experts and North Korea watchers argue that that program is for political purpose, based on political objective, political objective. All North Korean nuclear development is for diplomacy, get concession from foreign countries. That's political and diplomatic dimension of North Korean nuclear strategy. And then recently, New York Times and many North Korea analysts argued that, North Korean nuclear program itself has military dimension, military objective. So that's why Kim Jong-un continued to develop nuclear weapons and continue to sophisticate nuclear technologies with all putting available resources to nuclear program. So my recent main concern is on North Korea's nuclear doctrine. What is North Korea going to do with nuclear weapons? What's the purpose of Kim Jong-un in pursuing nuclear ambition? So my point is, I don't have conclusion, but I am still examining the real military objective of North Korea. Also, I read recent article in New York Times. That article cited Mark's comments a couple of times. So, from that, based on that article from 2014, Kim Jong-un, seriously consider military objective of nuclear weapons in North Korea. All right. My question is about the probability of North Korea's first strike, preemptive strike. It's known that nuclear weapons is for second strike, deterrence. But we South Koreans and we all are pretty much concerned about the probability of first strike by North Korea. I am keep examining that aspect of North Korean military doctrine now. So let me conclude it by giving you, as you know, how to cope with North Korean military threat, nuclear threat. First one is pressure and sanctions, and second one is engagement. Third one is military measures in coping with emerging new military threat from North Korean nuclear weapons. So with regard to this part, I participated in the Shangri-La dialogue last June, early June, and at the, main focus of that Shangri-La dialogue was on South China Sea problem, but participants from China and Russia. One is Deputy Ministry of Defense from Russia, and the other representative of Chinese delegation is military general, Navy Admiral, and they mention about that they strongly object that strategic option by South Korea and the United States. And then I attended the special session on North Korean nuclear program. There's discussion about how to deal with North Korea on the basis of two approaches. One is containment, confrontation, and the other is engagement. So I think we go further than that. Last 2 decades, we are captivated by that discussion, but we failed to have effective strategic option in blocking North Korean nuclear ambition. So my thinking recently concentrated on North Korea's nuclear doctrine, and then we have to cope with if we capture some part of North Korean real nuclear doctrine, and then we have to find ways to cope with that North Korean nuclear doctrine effectively. So let me stop here, and then.
Okay, thank you very much, Sok-Soo. I'm going to, or during the discussion, we're going to press you on some of these, including, you don't have to answer now, but what's the possibility, do you think, of a preemptive North Korea strike? Keep that in mind. Let me ask you to address some of these issues from your perspective.
Well, we were supposed to speak 15 minutes, and since my time is only 5 minutes left, I say hello and bye. Just like Sleepless in Seattle, if you remember. And when I first met Mark about quarter century ago, he was a very cute man with black hair, and now he is a white hair, and also I'm having a white hair. Hopefully the white hair means a little bit more wisdom. And I actually prepared the chronology of the North Korea's WMD development from the beginning to July 2016, but this is just for my own clear understanding sequentially how they ended up to be today. And 1994, I was working at Rand Corporation. That was the really the crucial year because North Korea's WMD development was exposed by the French satellite first, and Americans and everybody were very concerned about. And I wrote an op-ed for the Los Angeles Times, and the title of my opinion ad was A North Korea bomb. At that time, we were expecting maybe they have one crude bomb, either material or sort of a concocted bomb. Now, 22 years later, they are multi-nuclear warheads country, although American government publicly and officially, we never acknowledge North Korea's nuclear state. But if somebody says North Korea is not actually virtual nuclear state, you are lying through the teeth. And we zigzagged quite a lot. Everybody in this audience, you are all very well informed of who died and who succeeded and how many times they tested. But as of today, in the beautiful summer day of July 2016, We stuck with it, and our options are very limited. We talked about preemptive surgical strikes. Actually, under the previous Defense Minister, William Perry, Dr. Perry, who is currently affiliated at Stanford University, and we seriously discussed the preemptive strikes. But North Korea is not a war-defeated country. Whether you like it or not, it's a sovereign state. And also the more important technical issue is that was the Yongbyon was the only place that created a nuclear problem? What about the laboratory? What about the other processing sites? What about blueprints and what about scientists? And also how many people are actually farming and working and taking care of Yongbyon facility? Maybe up to 5,000. So if the somehow preemptive surgical strike hit all these people, they are just the victims and hostages of North Korean state. And we were the one who actually bombed, used the real nuclear weapons. Do we do it again? Out of the question. So, six-party talks, agreed framework, everything. Did we succeed in anything? No. So, let me be very pragmatically, bluntly offer you lessons learned from North Korea. The last quarter century, we have learned a couple of things about North Korea. First, no matter which Kim is leading the country, it doesn't matter. It is his country. He is the one who makes decisions. Nobody, including 25 million population, 4-star generals, brilliant foreign ministry officials, well-trained PhDs, don't mean anything. If Kim wants, things can be done. And that's the problem. It's a dictatorial country and everybody's hostage. 4-star generals, admirals, they are stooges. They have no power. There were actually a lot of medals. So jokingly I say, if there is a real war, we need a huge magnet to suck them up. Second lesson we learned clearly. Negotiations, dialogue, it's very important. Even though with the worst enemy, you have to open the channel of communication. Very important. But dialogue and negotiations will really create something? A North Korean mindset, any written form is just paper. They can just disregard everything. They promise, they walk away. How many times we were cheated? Currently the Democratic Convention, the political candidate, Hillary, when she was state secretary, mentioned it very clearly. We don't want to buy a dead horse 2 times. Enough is enough. So we tried, but we failed. And a lot of officials really burned their fingers, and then they even created the ulcer after the negotiating with the North Koreans too many years. It's basically a kiss of death. Whatever they signed, they walk away. Third, Kim wants the bomb, both for its deterrent value, right? Remember Saddam Hussein's story? If Kim has a bomb, do we go in there to take care of the country or people? Maybe very dangerous. And also he wants the bomb because of prestige. I call it North Korea's nuclear bombs are like an ultimate platinum card. You are the member, you have a privilege, you can use as a bluffing. It's just absolutely the best one that they can have. He will not give up. Bottom line, until the Kim is gone. When I say when Kim is gone, basically the beginning of the unlabeling of North Korean regime, let me tell you, there is no alternative because the country built on the Kim system. But unless he's gone, bombs will be with us. Our negotiation will be just a salami tactics. We lose patience, we lose time. We spend the taxpayers' money for nothing. So, short of defeat in war of his early whatever demise, Kim will do whatever he wants to do. And obviously, as Chinese called him, The first Kim Il-sung was called the first ferry. Second Kim Jong-il was called the second ferry. The Kim Jong-un is called the third ferry. Di Fang, Di Er Fang, Di San Fang. According to Chinese elite, even the government members, the third Kim is the worst. And the relationship is a little bit dicey, as you know. So, time to do something, because I want to really open up the floor for you to ask lots of interesting questions. The North Korea's warning lights blinked in Washington, D.C. for the last several decades. Everybody's sick and tired of it. Some people even got fatigue. Another Mustan, oh, well, maybe it's actually good news because they have limited Mustan, and then when they tested, there's less number of Mustan left, right? Or nuclear testing, well, as long as that it's happened there, maybe a little blink of a light. It's like a fireworks, who cares? And politics move on. And our country, of course, has every year, 4 years, we have a regime change. When the regime change, there is no legacy studies. All newcomers, new appointees have to learn North Korea 101. God's sake, it's a very sad situation. So, I've been always argued for the last 20 years, even 1994, that time frame. I actually have 45 pages of briefing charts that I presented to the Office of Secretary of Defense, invited as a RAND expert who can speak North Korean dialect, who understands North Koreans more than anybody else. And at that point said, sir, sunk cost is heavy. It's their platinum card. They will never give up. We gotta have different options. Answer was, we have no patience. We have no time. This is urgent matter. So then urgent matter turning into the one bomb country into multiple bomb countries? Isn't politics sometimes dirty? Or whatever, policymakers cannot do anything anymore? So basically, I argued for the last 20 years through my 3 North Korean books. Information, truth, knowledge to be seeping into the North Korean people's mind. Basically, we have some media experts here, Voice of America, Radio Free Asia, personal contact, whatever. North Korea has now 3.5 million or more cellular phones. They can obtain the information, they can information out. We spend more money, maybe one airplane money if we spend with the strategic defectors and the communicators and technical experts. We can deliver a lot of information. But don't expect the Arab Revolution because they have been away from this political dialogue with the real world for the last 6 decades. Or more than that, maybe almost 2 centuries. Dynasty Korea, colonized, communist, dictatorial Kim. They lost 2 centuries. So basically, we really try our best creating in the minds of North Korean elites and the people, there is an alternative reference. So then when the people are beginning to aware of the outside reality and that there is alternative choices possible, such as maybe merging with the rich South Koreans, or maybe becoming like a Deng Xiaoping style reform North Korea, a lot better, right? So it means not Arab Revolution, because generals will not shoot Kim, but it means that the Kim and his generals and party cadre have to spend more time in controlling people. And then suddenly small civil society kind of a network will be possible. I've been arguing for the last 20 years. And really, we haven't done anything at all. I'm still arguing it because right now time is much better because cellular phone is working, technology is possible. So if you have money, think about it. Donate. We can do it together. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Katie. We'll applause at the end, but you can applause now if you like. So there's 4 options that have come up here. It's sanctions and pressure, engagement. So you mentioned military options, didn't get into it, and then trying to foment through information changes in the mindset of people. And no possibility of Arab revolution. But one has to ask. Something happened that nobody quite expected in Turkey the last few days. Is that impossible in North Korea? Given that the military have, I think, been taken down a notch. At least many have been removed. There must be uncertainty in the ranks of the military if they will be next. The party has been given supremacy over the military. The Songun system of military first seems to have changed. Is there any potential for a military type drastic change in North Korea? That question comes to my mind as I hear both of you speak. And we'll open the floor to questions. But Sok-soo, could you comment on that? And also for the question I asked about is there any finite possibility of a North Korea first strike?
With regard to first question, I think it's not possible in North Korea. And as you see, first desperate task for Kim Jong-un after he took power is to maintain tight grip on the military, and as a result, he tried to rebalance power dynamics between the military and the party. And as you see, I don't think that the military could be an actor in initiating political change in North Korea. I mean, they are tightly under control by security apparatus in North Korea. And first target of Kim Jong-un to be tightly controlled. The military group is so. It's unlikely for the military to stage any kind of protest against.
You said impossible. Now you're saying unlikely.
Not possible. Yeah. And then second question, yeah, we don't have clear-cut scenarios of first strike by North Korea. So right now we think under desperate, extreme conditions, Kim Jong-un could make decision on that. That's shared assessment of.
Kim Jong-un could make a decision to launch a first strike.
Yeah, under extreme. Yeah, that's not my point.
No,
but
could,
yeah. Some experts are expecting that that situation could make Kim Jong-un.
So maybe a military coup would be an extreme condition.
That's not taken into account. I mean, I don't know. That's very concrete. The situation you are asking.
I'm just thinking.
Yeah, we propose two extreme conditions.
Yeah.
First one is the North Korea faced when North Korea faced the defeat of war fighting.
Yes,
in the future, they could make that kind of decision. And second one is when Kim Jong-un faces the crisis of his political leadership, and as a final resort, he could take that kind of
All right. Thank
option.
You.
Yeah,
thank you.
That's a general discussions on that in Seoul right now. Yeah, some experts are talking about that. Yeah.
Katie, what's your take on this?
I made my point very clear. Militaries are stooges, and they are not very globalized and sophisticated. But at the same time, military is not just one entity. There is really the higher level. The higher the ranks are, actually, I put the stupidity level a little bit higher. But if you are young technical experts, let's say you are the signal battalion, you are intelligence, you are actually listening to South Korean radio, listening to the Voice of America to learn English, to manage your unit. Those are the ones, younger generations, really I think the different generation. Somehow even in North Korea, they feel the vibration of global changes and globalization. And these people are really see something, this is not right. So that's what I say when we deliver the reference from outside and information. Guys, we don't want you to die. You can have a choice. And that is actually really the way to touch it. And as I said, the 3.5 million people are basically well off, smart, and they can contact with the outside world. And we have to really think about that chapter very seriously by the U.S. next president.
Thanks, Katie. We have a couple questions that have come in on the social media, which is why I'm holding my iPhone. It's not that I'm bored and checking stocks. Question from Mr. Zebulon Karlander in Sweden. He noting that there seems to be an assessment that North Korea is not going to give up its nuclear weapons. Are there other red lines that North Korea would have if negotiations ever were to ensue? If engagement were to lead to negotiations, are there options short of denuclearization that North Korea might be willing to trade? He didn't exactly ask it that way, but I'm sort of interpreting that question. And I guess I guess we might also ask: would the South Korea government accept anything short of denuclearization?
Officially, no.
Officially,
yeah.
no.
At this moment, and we always pursue, the goal of dismantlement and denuclearization of North Korean nuclear program.
And what do you think North Korea's red lines would be if you were sitting in Pyongyang? And what would you be willing to trade away, or what would you insist on holding? Would you want to keep all of the weapons, keep the testing program going for the missiles, or would you think that they could at least agree to another moratorium on missile testing?
Yeah. Several options can be presented for negotiation and diplomacy by North Korea. They can have various cards with regard to nuclear and missile capabilities. I don't know exactly, but the general consensus, shared consensus right now, is that North Korea could not forego their nuclear program. So North Korea will present cards short of denuclearization. So I think several cards can be presented by North Korea.
Okay.
They will, depending on negotiation circumstances.
Okay. Thanks. Katie, what do you think the possibilities and the red lines are in the event talks were to? I mean, you mentioned that North Korea has cheated many times when they've reached deals, so you might not be a strong proponent of talks, but you're a proponent of dialogue, right. Certainly.
I think North Koreans, not only Americans learned from North Korean behavior and negotiations, but I think North Koreans are also learning about Americans and outside world through the negotiations. The tougher, the better, basically one of the bottom lines that they learned. And Americans speak a lot, but they don't act. I'm sorry to say that, but there has been the really zigzagging stories. But Kim Jong-un is slightly different from Kim Il-sung and Kim Jong-il. Let me put it that way, because Kim Jong-un, first of all, worst weakness is he's young. He's immature in a sense. Not like Kim Jong-il, not groomed 20 years. He is wobbly, I think, in his deeper heart of his, bottom of his heart. My God, I inherited this damn country and everybody looks so bad and I am the only one who is fat. But nonetheless, I have to rule this country. And so Kim Jong, if you see the process of the ever since Kim Jong-il died, about his testing and militarization, and he's on the front, and even like let me push the button kind of attitude, Kim Jong-un is maybe a little bit tougher to deal with it, because his case, not even pretending that I'm interested in negotiating. Maybe the thing that he wants, we keep all the nukes, we will not use it, let's normalize, and then you treat me like a gentleman, and then I can have a better life. And then when I'm angry, I can, once in a while, I will test again. But also, we need economic help, okay? Not those stupid rice and corns and fertilizers, but $1 billion every year for semi-permanent. Can America do that? So in a sense, really the all options, when you look around, we are dealing with a really tough country that is not going down very easy. So I say, hopefully that he does not suddenly get crazy to do something crazy. That's my wish.
Mike Elliman, you raised your hand to scratch your ear. Do you like to pose a question? Okay, the mic is there. Identify yourself and then.
Yeah, Mike Elliman, I'm with the IISS. I have a question for both panelists and for Mark, and that is, does North Korea have a theory of victory in terms of a conflict with the United States or, South Korea? And if they do, have they articulated it, and could it inform their nuclear doctrine itself, at how they might use or not use nuclear weapons?
No, you can answer.
We have to, with regard to this question, we have to make distinction between, rhetoric and real North Korean, assessment, and propaganda is very important for communist country. So they to outsiders, they say something, but it's not. Sometimes it's not necessarily reflecting. It's not necessarily reflecting North Korea's own intention. So North Korea could be careful, very cautious. I mean, they know the United States is the strongest, country in the world. My point is that we have to, make distinction between real strategic option and propaganda.
And the propaganda in this case is unification of the Korean Peninsula by whatever means. So, I mean, one might say, the answer to the question is their definition of victory is when they rule over all of the peninsula. But I agree with Soksu that they're not going to be launching a military campaign to do that.
So that they are not, except nuclear capabilities, on overall indicators. North Korea is not so strong to do something actively. So economically, as you know, they are in bad condition, and without nuclear capabilities, North Korea is suffering from.
Can I just follow up on one point here? When we wrote this dossier in 2011, we struggled with this question of what would North Korea do in a military conflict? Would they use nuclear weapons first? And one of the contributors was arguing that yes, they would, because they do have this goal of unification, and we couldn't rule it out. And eventually, we had to agree, couldn't rule it out, but it's unlikely. Question by the woman in the second row to the last here.
Stephanie Cook with NIW, Nuclear Intelligence Weekly. I have two questions, one for Katie and one for Saksu. Katie, I just want to make sure I understand what you're saying. You're saying that you think the best bet ultimately would be information flow into North Korea via these junior officers and young people who are more aware of what are going on in the world, and hope for eventually some kind of change by whatever means. Secondarily, if we had talks, North Korea presents its platinum card on the table and says, in exchange for this, I want, they're not going to give them up, but they're going to say, I have this platinum card, I will stay, not use my platinum card, but you have to give me $1 billion a year. Is that what you were saying? Something like that, or
Actually,
build a Trump hotel or something along those lines?
No. And actually, there is a lot of strategic defectors. We have about 27, maybe including this year, maybe inching up to the 30K number staying in South Korea. Also elsewhere in Canada, UK, Denmark, Norway, you name it. Because about the North Korean defectors. And out of that number, I should say, chop up all those drunkards and alcoholics and brain dead or psychologically damaged people or youngsters and old people. There are really handful number of people are actually well trained and coming from professional backgrounds, and they are actually doing something meaningful inside South Korea today. They are the broadcasters and leaders of NGOs, and they try to engage with the North Koreans remaining inside North Korea, and then they are the ones who use this so-called SNS and cellular phones.
Right.
Okay?
Thank you very
So
much.
that there is a recipient right there, technology's sake. Even there is a new technologies are now cultivated by so far MIT-based technicians, and American youngsters are always good ideas, and they felt so bad after watching the TED talks by the North Korean defectors, and they said, Katie, this is the way we can spend the money. And when I look at the technology side of it, it's doable. Money is an issue. So that's we can talk about later. If you're interested, I can give you the whole scope of it. Currently, I'm dealing with the U.S. government and convince them to support some of these ideas. About the $1 billion is not my concocted joke. Long ago, the U.S. Senators group sent a couple of chief of staff and like-minded analysts to North Korea, not to deal with the North Korean nuclear issue, but missing in action. The poor Americans may be still missing in action. Americans, until you see the dead body or a dead spot, you are just dying every day. My father, he's kidnapped and don't know whether he's alive or gobbled up by the king. So they went for the missing in action purpose, but then they had a dialogue because a couple of smart ones teased the North Korean high-rank cadre and the military. What do you want with the nuke? God, those stupid crude nukes, you sit on that and you are just like a bad situation. And he said, well, we want to have both nukes, and also if you provide $1 billion cash of 3 years. Or one chief of staff jokingly said, oh, no, semi-permanently. That's what I used it. So that's what I told you about that. So they want both. There is an expression. What is that? You want to have have a cake and eat it? They want everything. And then we don't want these bad guys that want everything. Do you?
Stephanie has a follow-on question.
Thank you very much.
You turned it off.
There it is. Okay. Saksu, I just wanted to clarify, you said if he was in a really endangered situation, you could contemplate a first strike. And I thought you were saying a really endangered situation would be if he felt in danger of a coup within North Korea itself. So I'm kind of questioning if that happened. Would he nuke his own country? I wasn't quite clear about that. What would be the occasion for what would be the really bad situation that he would feel so backed against the wall that he would order a strike? Would he do it on his own people?
I told you conventional nuclear doctrine during the Cold War, the nuclear weapons are for deterrence. But as you see, we are experiencing second nuclear age. P5 nuclear weapon states and plus India, Pakistan, and others, and we have, other new nuclear weapon states. And then in academic circles, scholars, arguing, the probability of first strike. It wasn't under the Cold War structure. So this is kind of virtual discussion or something. So it's not so real. But as you say, we security community always assume the worst case scenario, and then we assess threats from worst scenarios. So in that context, yeah, some experts are concerned about the probability of the first strike by usually new nuclear armed states in general, and then North Korea in specific. So discussions didn't go too far. I mean, that discussion, doesn't have details. I mean, concrete scenarios, but worry about the change of conventional nuclear doctrine with new nuclear armed states.
Okay, thanks. I'll take one or two more questions, maybe just one here from Michael in the third row.
Mike Massetti, I want to bring up a couple of fairly recent developments. First of all, to what extent does the decision to deploy THAAD increase the temperature on the peninsula and in the region? Although at the moment it seems it's more controversial in South Korea than other places. And then has the discussion of South Korean nuclearization been reopened by the comments of Trump?
Yeah. So you take a look at relations between India and Pakistan. And North Korea has a nuclear program, and we are sharing a border between the two Koreas. And then some politicians and some South Koreans began to talk about nuclearization of South Korea, and also some presented that South Korea should be latent nuclear power like Japan. It's not official. It's just a beginning of discussion on that South Korea's nuclearization at this moment. It's not so serious. That kind of voices are not capturing many South Koreans.
The question here
concern.
Did Donald Trump's comments about this have an impact on the opinion? Did these voices increase, or did they ignore him?
I don't think so. It's not. Yeah.
Before the Donald Trump, actually, the nuclearization of South Korea has been seriously discussed, mostly led by the Chung Mong-jun, who was the president of the Hyundai Corporation and also the founder of the ASAN Institute of Policy Studies, and he's really serious about that. And then there are a couple of the top elite of South Korean security studies, Dr. Lee Sang-woo, formerly the chancellor of the Handong University and Hanlim University, and all these, they are really top notch. And these guys finally, okay, North Korea is steadily, slowly, persistently pursuing it, from a one bomb to the multiple bombs. Not only the delivery system is now getting near the perfection day by day, while the rabbit is jumping around, this slow turtle is moving around. And America is boiled down with the partisan politics. And their words coming from the Washington, D.C. are very, very sad. Are we in charge of our defense? So that's still serious. Doesn't matter with the Donald Trump, destructive time bomb, whatever. It doesn't regard with him, but the regard with the genuine question about where are we now, surrounded by nasty, mighty China, and then the resurgence of Japan, and nuclearizing North Korea. If you are the country elite, think about that.
I wish we had more time, because there's several questions that come to mind. I mean, including this whole question about, do people advocate indigenous nuclearization because they really want it, or in order to put pressure on China, to put pressure on North Korea? The same way that Donald Trump's advisor, Senator Sessions, said Trump didn't really mean that he wanted allies to get weapons, he meant it as a means of leverage to persuade them to pay more. So this concept of leverage, and people say things for leverage purposes. But we usually promise to end on time, so we're at the time of ending. Let me thank you all for coming, and if anybody wants to chat a little bit afterwards about putting leverage on China, we could do so. But please join me in thanking Sok-Soo and Katie O.